Luxury asset financing has become a booming industry thanks to the increasing value of luxury assets. As prices for luxury goods climbs, business owners, CEOs, and high net worth individuals are looking to fund new ventures without having to sell their prized possessions. Today, we are going to talk with one of the top luxury asset specialists in the world and find out how they unlock the equity in their clients' high-value luxury items to secure confidential loans. Please welcome Dewey Burke to Spotlight Television. Dewey, good to have you here.
David, thank you for having me.
It's great to have you. Tell the audience, I always like to start, tell the audience a little bit about yourself, and then tell us how you got into this model.
Sure. Yeah, career in finance. In a past life, I worked for a private equity firm, and we were always calling on different entrepreneurs to see if they could take an investment in their business. And what I kept hearing from them, particularly when they talked about their early days, was how hard it was for them to access credit. And I kept thinking to myself, there's got to be an easier path than just traditional banks and traditional financing for some of these high net worths to unlock some liquidity. And a lot of these guys we talked to had a win or two in their career. They'd sold a business and done well, and now they were going back to try again with a different venture. And without fail, they all talked about how hard it was to get credit. And so that's what sparked it. And then as I investigated and kind of looked at the marketplace, I realized there wasn't really a true leader in helping high net worths leverage their luxury assets. And so we started it in 2016, and here we are 7 years later, and we've had a pretty good run.
I don't think people realize how much high net worth individuals rely a lot on debt to live. They're not earning necessarily like the rest of us do. They rely on debt and to loan against those assets a lot.
That's exactly right. And I think a key point there, especially for the entrepreneur, is they have choppy liquidity. They don't necessarily just have a steady paycheck where they're sending a W-2 to their accountant to do their taxes. More than likely, they're an owner of several businesses. They have a piece of that and a piece of this, and then they founded that business, and they have some of these real estate holdings, and so they don't always know when liquidity's coming. And so when an opportunity comes up, and we're going to get into our business model, when an opportunity comes up and they need liquidity now, we can be a great resource just because of how fast we can go.
How much money have you guys lent so far?
Yeah, north of $1 billion. So we've put a lot of money out, and that's across all of our offices and all of our different platforms. We have an online platform, borrow.com, BORRO.com, which has been a great brand for us, as well as our 3 offices, Los Angeles, Denver, and New York. We try to tell our sales team that when we get an inbound lead, which is typically a form fill, we expect the client to hear from us in under 5 minutes. And it's not automated, right? It's a human. It's not an automated text message or a bot. It's us. And we feel like that first touch, being white glove, sets the stage for a really good service experience.
So you talk about that first touch. Let's talk about people looking at you for the first time. Is there one aspect, or what would you call maybe the greatest aspect of luxury asset lending that you want people to kind of know about you first when they first start to look at you?
Definitely speed. We typically can close in 1 to 2 business days, and we have some use cases where we've gone even faster than that, some same-day deals that we've been able to get closed for clients when they really had a liquidity need. We are not like banks in the sense that there's not a credit check, a deep background check. There's not a lot of regulatory compliance. We really focus on the asset or the assets that the client is putting up for collateral. And as long as those assets are unencumbered, no liens on them, they're held free and clear, and the title is with the borrower. As long as we get comfortable with the value, and we can talk about how we do that, we can move really fast. Things like cars or art maybe take an extra day because they're titled assets, and moving them is not quite as easy. But for luxury assets like handbags and high-end watches, jewelry, diamonds, we can move extremely fast. And so when people get to us, typically the need is right now.
Who is the typical client coming to you? Who are they? And what is the typical situation that they come to you in?
Yeah, so we've said the term high net worth several times since we started talking, and that is usually our client. It's somebody who is fairly well-to-do and is an owner of the luxury assets we're talking about. So they've been successful at a point in life, and now they're looking to leverage assets that the banks just won't be able to understand on their personal balance sheet, right? So you think about a traditional financing process. You go to a banker and you submit financials and you submit tax returns, and they put together a personal financial statement. And on there, on the asset side, is, hey, I have $1 million in cars and I have $2 million in art. Well, banks are very fond of saying, we don't know what we don't know. And so that stuff's just flat not for us. They're going to focus on real estate. They're going to focus on securities portfolios when they're thinking about leverage. And so we've built a business thinking about exactly what the banks won't think about. And we've become experts in those different asset classes.
What can someone expect from the process?
Sure, and you mentioned their situation. So what are we financing typically when we write a loan for a client? We've talked about a business venture or a real estate opportunity. We see that a lot. Meeting a deadline, whether that's college tuition or an IRS bill that might be due. And then one of the biggest subsets of our client base are collectors. So this is someone that perhaps owns X number of Ferraris or Porsches, and there's another one that's become available that they desperately seek, and they need to act now. Well, they can leverage their existing portfolio to add to it, right? They borrow against this Porsche to buy that one. So we see a lot of that. And then as far as the process goes, most clients find us either online or by a referral, typically from a service provider. So we're talking about CPAs, estate planning attorneys, investment bankers, people that are close to deal flow. Oftentimes will refer clients to us as a last slug of liquidity for whatever deal they're working on. From there, it's, again, very focused on the assets. So we're going to want pictures, makes, models, serial numbers. In the case of a car, copy of the title. If it's art, all the auction provenance, the history of the piece. And then we're going to go to work on our diligence. We're very confident in our ability to evaluate. And so once we get that value, we're going to give you anywhere between 50 to 70% of what we think it's worth. And that'll be our loan offer, and pretty quickly, once we have possession of the asset, we can send you the loan contract. It's all electronic via DocuSign. You execute, and we send you a wire.
Kind of break down those percentages of what the most common things you see, and what are you most comfortable with seeing where you've done your due diligence and you're most comfortable with?
So we see a lot of watches, jewelry and diamonds for sure, and those are easier just because they're smaller, right? So here we are in New York. If we have a client in Massachusetts or in South Carolina, rather than them having to come to us, they can FedEx or private courier their assets to us, and then we can do our valuation and then send them a loan contract and close. The larger assets, like we talked about, art and cars, take a little bit more time. But our car portfolio is exploding right now, which is something we're really excited about, especially out in Los Angeles, which tracks. Our office is in Beverly Hills, and so we've done some really smart marketing there, and so our luxury car portfolio is growing.
Is there a cap that you guys say, okay, we're only comfortable going to X, or does it strictly just rely on the assets they bring to you?
We do have a cap, but it does vary by asset class. So for example, if we're looking at a Rolex Skydweller, right, we know very clearly what that watch is worth, and we can sell that watch in a day. So we know what it's worth. And so we can be a little bit more aggressive, maybe up to 75% on a piece like that. Whereas when you're looking at a rare collector car, where we had to get maybe 2 opinions on the value, we're going to be a little more conservative, maybe closer to 50% of what we believe the value is. Just so we're being smart in case there's a market adjustment on a rare collector car. And then you also have to factor in the higher the loan amount, we're probably going to be a little bit more conservative. So you're talking about loaning somebody a couple $1 million. We're going to be a little bit more conservative than if we're loaning somebody $25,000. One of the things that we really like to talk about, and a lot of our clients take advantage of, is what we call a luxury line of credit. And so if you are, let's say you own 3 Ferraris that are worth, in our eyes, $1 million. You know that with us, you have a $500,000 to $600,000 line of credit anytime you need it. We just have to collect the cars, put them in storage at a luxury car garage. You give us the keys and the title. You have access to $600,000. Just
to use when they want, almost like an HELOC.
Just like a HELOC. That's what I was about to say. You took the words out of my mouth. So it functions like a HELOC. And so one of the things we're most proud of is we have a 71% repeat business rate. So clients that use us, 71% of them use us again. And the reason is now they know they have a defined value for that asset and they know how much they can borrow. So in my Ferrari example, if we have all three of them, that client could draw down 200 grand, go do what he or she needs to do, pay it back, revolve it back to zero like a HELOC. They may take it all the way up to 600, right? And then do a principal payment down to 300. Literally, they revolve it just like you would a HELOC. And the difference is that the asset is not a piece of property, it's 3 cars that we have in storage. So that luxury line of credit is a concept that we came up with and really rings true to the sophisticated borrower. They understand that concept. And so we have lots of clients today that have a balance of 0, but their assets are with us so that they know they can call or text me or somebody on my staff and say, hey, can I draw 100 grand? And they have it in 30 minutes.
So as I'm listening to you, I'm thinking about the current landscape out there of money. You think about 2.5 years ago, interest rates were effectively 0. Inflation was non-existent. Most people didn't know what the term is. And now you look, inflation peaked at 9.2%. It's come back a little. The Fed has raised rates 550 basis points. I can't figure out listening to you if you're in the toughest scenario for your business or the best scenario for your business. So what is the landscape right now?
It's the best scenario for us. And you made reference to rates going up, but it's not just rates going up. It's also banks tightening access to credit. It's not just that it's more expensive, it's also harder to borrow. We have plenty of lenders in our network that refer deals to us that have flat out said, this is a guy or this is a gal that we would have normally been able to come up with a transaction for, and we've tightened the rein, we pulled the reins in. And so this is a great time for us in our business. But our rates and what we charge are not tied to the Fed rates. So we're licensed and regulated, and we have very straightforward rates that we charge. So because rates have gone up 550 basis points, doesn't mean that ours have tracked with that. So actually, we're more affordable now than we've ever been.
Give the viewers a few examples of maybe the things you can think of in the last couple of years that where you guys, how clients have used your service in ways where it was really memorable for you, that they were really in a bind or they had a really huge deal and they just couldn't get that liquidity they needed to come to you. Give me some of the best examples you can remember.
Easily the best one, and I can't use names and you'll see why, but easily the best one is we had a very, very prominent guitarist from one of the most popular 80s rock bands that all of us know. And it was during COVID, and he came to us and he said, look, we can't tour, but I need to keep paying our road family. All the guys that are with us when we travel, that set up the stage, break down the equipment, the lights and everything, said we want to keep paying them, but we don't have access to liquidity. Banks won't give us anything because they're unsure when we're going back out on the road. Is there anything you can do for us? Well, they had literally hundreds of guitars from this legendary band that we were able to partner with an auction house, go and value. It ended up being, I think, 170 guitars, giving them a couple $1,000,000 so that they could keep their road family paid and going during COVID. And then once they started touring again, boom, they paid us back, guitars back to them, and off they went. So that's a really cool story of a way we could help in a super unique situation. I can't think of many lenders that could have figured out a way to help someone leverage 170-something guitars so that they could have access to that liquidity to keep making payroll.
Dewey, it's been a great conversation. Let's do the most important thing we can do. How do people find you? People may be looking, go, man, this is what I've been looking for. How do they get in touch with you? Let everybody know where they can find you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me. Great conversation. Best and easiest, everybody likes to have a website, borrow.com, www.borro.com.
Dewey, thanks for being on Spotlight Television.
Thank you.
Welcome back to Spotlight Television. Today I have the opportunity to talk to a true entrepreneur, Chief Gene Saunders. He has had an illustrious career in both the military and law enforcement. He served 33 years with the Chesapeake Police Department, serving in patrol, training, vice, and even narcotics, where he was the chief investigator on several large multi-state international drug and organized crime conspiracy investigations. In 1999, he founded Project Lifesaver International, a program designed to protect and quickly locate individuals with cognitive disorders who are prone to the life-threatening behavior of wandering. His vision, innovative approach, and sheer determination turned an idea into a successful nonprofit organization that has gone on to save thousands of lives. His inspiring best-selling book, Deploying High, The Man, the Mission, and the Story Behind Project Lifesaver International, was released on Amazon on March 15th of this year and quickly resonated around the world, turning the book into a #1 bestseller in 4 countries. A dedicated public safety professional and a hero responsible for bringing loved ones home, please welcome to Spotlight Television, Chief Gene Saunders. Chief, welcome to Spotlight Television.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
It's great to talk to you again, and as I think I said to you last time, thank you so much for a lifetime of service to the community, to the country, and everything you've done. I want you to tell the audience who may be seeing and hearing from you for the first time a little bit about your background.
Well, graduated in 1963 from Northview High School in Norfolk, Virginia. Quickly went into the military, serving in the National Guard for about 14 years. In 1968, after going through a number of other jobs, I guess trying to find myself, I went with the Chesapeake Police Department. I served there for 33 years, as you said earlier, in a number of different commands, including the SWAT team for 23 years, which I had the honor of commanding. In 2001, I retired from the police department to take on Project Lifesaver full-time, which I had founded in 1999.
What was it that said to you, this is the next thing for me?
One of the things that I noticed early on was we were having a lot of searches for Alzheimer's patients. And at that time, there was not a lot known on how to search for them, so we used the old tried and true methods, which did not work very well. We had a lot of searches, many of them very unsuccessful, which kind of bothered me. I kept feeling like there's got to be a better way to do this. I learned not too long into it that the clock was working against us with them. So I just kept investigating different things, and finally one day the sheriff sent me a brochure on wildlife tracking. And I guess, some people call me that I'd had an epiphany. I feel like, well, no, I just saw a good idea. I said, if we can do this with wildlife, can we do it with people that we identify that may wander? Contacted the manufacturer, worked out some things with him, got it placed into a bracelet, got some funding from a local hospital, and we kicked off the pilot program to see how it would work.
I don't know if you can get into specifics, but what components are utilized now by Project Lifesaver that enable first responders to have better success rates?
Well, I think one of the primary things, other than the equipment itself, is training. We train the first responders not only on how to use the equipment and search patterns and methods to use the equipment and locate the radio signal, but also how to recognize and be familiar with the disorders they're going to deal with, such as autism and Down syndrome and Alzheimer's, dementia, because we feel like it's important that they be able to interact with them and deal with them. I kept telling everyone that finding them is only half the situation. Now you got to get them home, and that's not always an easy task either. Dementia patients, Alzheimer's, can become belligerent. You have sometimes autistic children that don't understand or don't want to cooperate. So I think that's one of the most important things we have, other than the actual location of the subject and bringing them home. Teaching the first responders how to deal with the disorders.
Now, is my understanding that you don't utilize GPS at all, is that correct?
No, we don't.
So what's the thought process there?
Well, in my experience, GPS is not as reliable as everybody wants to think that it is. And I use the example, if you have GPS in your car, or a satellite radio for one thing, go back to the GPS in your car. How many times has it failed to give you accurate directions? All right, satellite radio, which is the same thing as operating with the GPS, with the satellites. If you pull under anything, do you get a signal? No. Anything that's capable of blocking sunlight can block a GPS signal. Plus, it's a power hog. Every time you use it, it depletes power in that battery, which means you've got to recharge it more often. You're always going to have to recharge it every 12 to 14 hours, which means that's 2 or 3 hours that that bracelet or whatever is off the subject. Plus, it's technology. Many of the people that are caregivers don't know how to use that, become very confused with it. Project Lifesaver, I think one of the attributes that I've heard about Project Lifesaver is it's simple, easy to use, and the people that use it are trained, so they know what they're doing. I've always believed in the KISS principle. And that's one of the foundations of Project Lifesaver.
Tell us whatever you can tell us about the bracelet, about the technology within it, and why it's so simple but yet so effective.
It is a band that goes on the arm, stays on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. A transmitter is inside a hardened plastic case, which is water resistant. Sends out a signal every second, which we can pick up on the search. We do not monitor it 24 hours a day. If we're called out, we will tune into the frequency, as every individual has a separate frequency assigned to them. So we lock onto that signal, just as they did in World War II with the spies. We hone in on the signal to the person, pick them up, and bring them home. So it's very simple, tried and true technology. The only thing that's going to block a radio signal is lead, and I don't know many people that hang around lead that often. So it's just very reliable, very proven.
What's the demographic? Who's using it? Is it families? Is it businesses? Is it nursing homes? Is it hospitals? Is it all of the above? Tell us a little bit about that.
The people that are assigned through the public safety agency members. Now, we do have some assisted living homes that are members, VA hospitals that are members. They determine what frequency you get. They keep that on record, so if a search happens, they can go right to the record, pull up your frequency, and be able to know, all right, this is what I need to tune into. The demographics, it's people with Alzheimer's, dementia, children with autism. In fact, if you take any cognitive disorder, you may have a wandering characteristic with it. So it's a very wide spectrum. And then the agencies that are actually the members and using it within their jurisdictions or their communities, they decide how far out they want to go, how many people they need or can handle in the program. And again, they assign the frequencies.
How many bracelets do you think are out there? How many are you assigning on a yearly basis? Give us some of the demographics of the actual business.
Well, we are in all 50 states. We are in 8 provinces and 1 territory in Canada. We will be in San Juan, Puerto Rico here very shortly, and we're working with Western Australia. Our problem there is frequency allocation, what frequencies we can use. Now, as far as the number of bracelets that are out there, I would have to give you a wild guess. You know, in 25 years that we've been doing this, there's probably 75 to 100,000 bracelets out there. Now, we have almost 1,800 member agencies. And as I said before, they're spread all over North America and soon to be Puerto Rico.
So you talked a little bit about the future. What's the next big step forward you see for Project Lifesaver? Is it technology helping you guys advance further? Is it a new relationship? What do you think is the next big step for Project Lifesaver?
All of the above.
Yeah.
Everything you said. Keep improving our technology. Keep improving our training. Keep improving our message and trying to get it out to more and more people to know about us and have influence and able to adopt the program. You know, one of the things they look at, well, what does it cost to adopt the program? Well, it's hard to say you're going to pay for this program with the very first search. It costs about $4,500 to start the program in your community. Well, when you start breaking that down into what does it cost to search for somebody, you've paid for it on the very first search that you go on in spades.
So obviously every search is meaningful, every search, every second matters. Do you remember a search or maybe a phone call that you got if you weren't involved that stands out to you since you started this project?
There's 2 that really stand out. I'd have to say the very first one that we ever did stood out because let's face it, right then, that was where it was going to prove or disprove my theory. We rolled in, we actually located the gentleman in 1.5 minutes in a stairwell of an apartment building in a locked closet. Why he locked it when he went in there, I have no idea, but in 1.5 minutes, it proved a theory that it would work. It would work well. And then there was another search, and there have been many. I mean, we're over 4,000 now. In Tuscaloosa, Alabama, that I remember vividly, in that they had a Down syndrome subject, and they picked up a signal, and it was kind of intermittent. They did hone in on a riverbed with high embankments on either side. They actually had to go airborne, and they got the signal, and they found the subject had become entangled in vines, had fallen over the side, was hanging upside down on the embankment. So I feel like, that was a very important one, or meaningful, or landmark, whatever you want to describe it. But there's been a number that I could probably sit here for the next 30, 45 minutes and tell you about searches if I could remember them all.
Yeah, and of course, obviously, every search has been the most important one to some family or some
Absolutely.
members. So that's the most important thing. Let's talk to the people about. Obviously, we want to try to help you get the word out here. This is such an important thing you're doing, where they can get a hold of you, how they can help, how they can get involved, what can the community do. Tell the audience all of that kind of stuff.
Well, we have a website. They can go to their website. It's projectlifesaver.org. They can call us at 1-877-580-LIFE, or they can just reach out to their local agency. The website will tell you whether or not your agency has it. If you don't have access to the website, call your agency. Ask them, do they have it? If they don't have it, why don't they have it? Agencies, many of them start because of the outreach, or if you want to use the word, pressure from the community itself. Unfortunately, law enforcement now, and when I was there, is probably more reactive than proactive. So when they find out that the public wants this, they think they need it, usually they'll respond very positively.
Well, Chief, again, a lifetime of service to the community, to the nation. We honor you, and congratulations on Project Lifesaver, the great work you're doing. We hope we can help you spread the word here, and thank you very much for appearing on Spotlight Television.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I'm glad we were able to get the word out to whoever's watching.